What is up, YouTube? This is Alex here from Team Generations, back again with another deck profile. Today we're going to be looking at an updated list for Dragonic Vanquisher for Narukami, my personal favorite clan. I'm really enjoying this deck. Tested out a bunch of different options with it. I think this is where I've kind of landed, my final destination, so to speak. In this meta, we'll see if it changes at all with Bermuda, and I'll let you guys know, but I am really enjoying it. I think it kind of brought another layer of depth and just a little bit more consistency with the overall strategy of binding from hand and multi-attacking overall. So yeah, very excited to bring this to you guys. Without further ado, let's jump right into the deck profile and get started. Alright, just really quickly before we begin, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that we do have an Eradicators profile as well. If you guys are more into that kind of archetype or whatever the case may be, that is on the channel and I will link that in the description. But without further delay, let's jump right into this profile. So we are still running 4 of the original Dragonic Vanquisher, so still kind of like the heart and soul of the deck along with Fullbronto. Its skill on Vanguard Circle is during our turn, if a total of 3 or more of any player's cards are bound this turn, all of your front row units get an additional 10,000. So a nice little power buff there, keeping that consistent, allowing your rear guards to hit no matter what their base power might be, which is really nice. And its second skill, act on Vanguard Circle once per turn. We get to counterblast one, choose one of our any player's front row rear guards, bind it, and if our soul has a grade 3, we basically choose a card from our hand and our opponent chooses one as well from their hand, and we bind it. So this enables us then to get off a multi-attack or maybe call a card from our hand off of that bind, so we don't really neg off of his skill. And it's really nice because this helps us essentially like immediately get that 3, the first condition, hit off of his own skill if there is another grade 3 in soul. So very nice. I am still running this at 4 of. I know a couple people have dropped this down. I find that I do want to ride this every single turn just to generate as many Excel markers as I possibly can, so I am still running it at a 4 of. Still a great card. And I think the key too also is on a grade 3 turn, you kind of want 2 binds to go off, and Vanquisher kind of helps us do that with him himself, having that second skill with that grade 3 in soul. So yeah. Alright, moving right on, as you can probably guess, we are running 4 of our Dragonic Vanquisher Fullbronto. So this is the new guy that just came out in Divine Lightning Radiance. Its skill continues on Vanguard Circle, that is also regarded as a Dragonic Vanquisher. This is important for a couple different cards, skills that essentially need your Vanguard to be Dragonic Vanquisher. Its second skill, on Vanguard Circle, auto when placed, all of your front row units get an additional 10,000 until the end of turn. So that is when it is placed, so just be careful of the timing that you drop down some of your rear guard circles, some of your rear guards. This needs to see that 10,000 when it's placed, and this does not stack on top of Dragonic Vanquisher, just a heads up. This is just still keeping that 10,000 kind of consistent, so yeah. Its third skill is auto when bound from hand during your turn. If your Vanguard is Dragonic Vanquisher, we get to discard a card from our hand, just a single card, ride this card as stand, and this unit gets -1 drive until the end of turn. During our turn's end phase, you cannot get an imaginary gift excel when you reride. You reride a grade 3 from your soul as rest, and you could only use this ability once per turn. You can't have like 2 of these in your hand and pop a second one over and over, so just kind of like addressing like a pre-Riviere kind of errata. I think it's just kind of a little bit too overpowered if they were allowing us to just generate Excel markers over and over. I kind of get it with Force, like it's just stacking power, or maybe even Force 2 with the crits, but if you're going to be drawing off an Excel marker, I think that would probably be a little bit too game breaking. It sucks that we can't do it, but it is what it is. Still a super awesome card overall. This really allows you to multi-attack even more and with another drive check, so that's really big, really applying that key pressure over and over. Very effective, keeping your opponent guessing how many attacks from hand are you really going to have. So I like this card a lot. I think it really gave the deck a little bit more of what it needed in order to bring it to the table with the big boys. Alright, and rounding off our grade 3s, we are still running 4 of Jaggy Shot Dragoon. Now again, I know some people have kind of cut 1 or 2 original Dragonic Vanquishers, maybe one of these guys. I think all 4 of these cards, or all 3 of these cards really do what the deck is trying to get off. Obviously you have ride targets there. You're going to bind that Dragonic Fullbronto from your hand, Dragonic Vanquisher Fullbronto. That really is the main engine of the deck, and this guy kind of just facilitates it. Like this is such a great card. It can get you 2 cards in hand. Let me go into its skills right now. I'm still keeping it at 4 of. So its skill, auto on Van or Rearguard Circle. When it attacks a Vanguard, we get to bind a card from our hand. We choose one of our opponent's rear guards in the front row, and then we bind it. And if your opponent's front row has no rear guards, we get to draw a card. So A, we're binding that card from our hand, enabling another multi-attack or maybe a re-ride for Fullbronto. we get to draw a card if our opponent's front row is blank. Pretty easy to do in this deck, so you're plussing off of that. And then at the end of battle that it attacked, its second skill is auto on rearguard circle. If your Vanguard is Dragonic Vanquisher, we get to put this unit into our soul and draw a card. So again, drawing another card, really maybe adding some other cards to our hand that are potential bind targets to get that multi-attack out. So just always keeping your opponent on their toes, keeping them guessing, what does this guy have in his hand? How many attacks will he get off? This is a really, really excellent card. I like it still at 4 of. I know your hand can get not really cloggy with a lot of grade 3s, but there could be a decent amount of grade 3s in there, but I find that we do go through them pretty fast, so I'm kind of maxing out that grade 3 slot as a result. Moving on then to a grade 2 that's very similar to Jaggy Shot, kind of like Jaggy Shot Jr. I like to call it. This is Rock Climb Dragon. I am running it at a 4 of. Its skill on rearguard circle is at the end of battle that it attacked. If our Vanguard is Dragonic Vanquisher, we get to retire this unit, draw a card, and bind a card from our hand. Choose one of our opponent's front row rearguards and bind it. So again, super nice to be able to bind things from our hand, really getting that engine going. We always want to pretty much on our first grade 3 ride, or any of our grade 3 rides really, get off 2 binds. This guy helps us do that. Binding from hand, again, just enables that multi-attack. You get to draw off of it and clear something from your opponent's field. It's just kind of like a win overall. I know, again, some people have kind of dropped this. Like the grade 2 lineup is not 100% set. I don't think any lineup in this deck is really set. This is just my iteration of the list. So if you have, any differing opinions, please just let me know down below. I'm definitely interested in trying other deck lists too. Very, very curious to see what's out there. But yeah, this guy I think just does it all, and we always want to kind of see him in our hands in order to, retire him, bind another card, draw a card, get off a multi-attack, so I think it just facilitates what we're looking to do overall in the deck. Moving on then, this is another 4 of staple in my opinion. This is Demonic Dragon Berserker Chitora. So Chitora's effect is on rearguard circle auto. When its attack hits a Vanguard, we get to Soul Blast 1, draw a card, choose one of our opponent's front row rearguards, and bind it. So a nice little on-hit pressure there. We constantly want to be drawing in this deck. Drawing allows us to get different bind targets from our hand onto the field, and Chitora kind of helps us do that. Its main skill is, though, auto. When bound from hand during our turn, you may call the card to rearguard circle. If you call it, this unit gets an additional 10,000 until the end of turn. So this enables us to get this guy to be 28 on a regular rearguard circle. It can be, I think it's 32 then, yeah, on an Excel 2 circle, with by itself and the Dragonic Vanquisher 10k. So very effective overall. This is still like the main beater, if you will, of the deck. I think it's definitely a 4 of. This is our pretty much main bind target every turn. Moving on then, I kind of had a lot of different, I tried a lot of different things with the rest of these grade 2s. I think I settled on just being a little bit more consistent. I am running 2 Volt Shred Dragons. I know some people max this guy out. I don't think I really need to max it out. I think there's other cards in here too that have just as much of an effect, really. And again, once we ride that Dragonic Vanquisher, the original one, and have a grade 3 insole, we're going to already be binding something from our hand, and we're pretty much always going to have at least one other rearguard that has that bind, so you're enabling at least one other multi-attack and your Vanguard re-ride if you have Fullbronto in hand. But this guy just helps with the consistency of that and still draws a card. This is Volt Shred Dragon. Its skill on rearguard is when it attacks auto. If your Vanguard is Dragonic Vanquisher, we get to Soul Blast 1, draw a card, and bind a card from our hand. So this is nice because not a ton of things really use Soul Blast in this deck, so it's not really a resource we're super concerned with. It draws us a card, so potentially drawing another bind target into our hand, and then we get to bind it from our hand, just really facilitating the engine, plussing and then binding. It's definitely a decent card overall. You can up this if you want, replace some of the new ones that or some of the additional cards that I'm going to show in just a second, but I am running it at a 2 of. I kind of find that ratio is alright. I'm digging it so far. Next up, I think this is where the spice or the controversial part of the list really is. This is going to be, I'm running 2 Fiendish Sword Eradicator Cho'o. Cho'o's been around since Aerial Steed Liberation. It's kind of been in a bunch of different Narukami decks. It is currently limited to 2 in Standard. Its skill on Van or Rearguard Circle is when it's placed, we get to Counterblast 1, choose a column, bind one of your opponent's front row rearguards in that column, move up a back row rearguard in that column to front row. And its second skill, this is, I think, the main reason we really run it, is on Rearguard Circle once per turn. At the end of battle that our Vanguard attack, if your opponent's front row has no rearguards, we get to Counterblast 1 and stand this unit. So this is nice too because the attack pattern kind of changed with this guy. So let's say we're on our Dragonic Vanquisher first, we swing with him, we no longer have to swing with Cho'o first. We somehow pull off a re-ride bind, we go into Fullbronto. That's when, maybe Vanquisher hit a trigger or 2, whatever, we can put it on Cho'o, make Cho'o swing even more threatening. gets that 10k. So if you have this on an Excel 2, it automatically becomes like 24k. You hit one trigger, put it on him, becomes 34k. You swing with that 34k, you pull off the re-ride with Fullbronto, pop him down, you can swing again then, and then restand him. So the kind of the attack order change with Cho-Oh, it can become a little bit more threatening. And I feel like this deck is really all about the binding from hand and the multi-attack. The multi-attack is really what we're going after, and Cho-Oh still facilitates that. So I think it's decent at a 2 of. Obviously, that's all it's limited to in standard, so I'm still running it. I know some people have cut it from their deck. You can definitely do that if you want to. Not a big deal either way, but I am still running this guy at a 2 of. And then for our last card, again, a little bit spicy, but I am running one of these guys. This is a Martial Arts Dragon. Very interesting card. Its first skill is on Van or Rearguard Circle. Is when placed, we can counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, choose one of our opponent's front row rearguards, and then bind it. Its second skill is auto on Van or Rear. When your other unit's attack did not hit, this unit gets an additional 5,000 until the end of turn. So, like I said, we are multi-attacking a lot in this deck. If you pop this guy down, you attack 3-4 times before this, even if 2 of them just didn't hit. Let's look at this guy. Let's assume, we get 4 attacks, 2 of them didn't hit, half of our attacks didn't hit. It's a pretty decent ratio. We get the 10k from Dragonic Vanquisher skill, either one of them. So it's going to be 19k. Let's say it's on an Excel 2 circle. It's going to be 24k. 2 attacks didn't hit. Boom, just hit 34k. So overall, it's not really taking up a lot of resources to get this off. It doesn't really bind from hand, doesn't do any of that crazy stuff, but we're just running it at a 1 of. I find that if you have a really, really successful turn, this is definitely like a win more card. This can definitely help us push for game. It becomes pretty big out of nowhere, and if your opponent's not used to it, I think, they just don't really account for it getting as big as it does sometimes. So I'm running it at 1 of. I think it is decent in the deck. Again, you can cut some of these to get an extra Volt Shred or 2 in there if you're really mainly going to go for that consistency, but I kind of like the power option play that we get off with that Martial Arts Dragon, so I'm running it at a 1 of. Moving on to our grade 1s then. So grade 1 slots kind of tight, not gonna lie. I've seen a lot of decks, I think, in Japan and the East in general, kind of run this ratio, so I don't feel too bad about it. All of my games, I find that I'm not really struggling to find a grade 1. If you mulligan pretty aggressively, your whole grade 1 lineup really focuses on consistency, but this is Chain Bolt Dragoon. Its skill auto on Vanguard Circles. One place, we look at the top 7 cards of our deck and look for a Dragonic Vanquisher. We don't have to discard, which is really nice, but again, this is only a Vanguard skill. This is your ideal grade 1 ride target. And again, this is just look for a card with Vanquisher in its name, so it doesn't have to be Fullbronto or the original one, it could be either or. Very nice for kind of cherry picking which one you need in your hand for a pretty much free cost. Its also second skill is when bound from hand during your turn, you may call this card to Rearguard Circle, so helps us get off multi-attacks, helps us find our Vanquisher. Very, very good card overall, and yeah, I'm running it at a 4 of as a result. Also, like I said, everything in this deck in the grade 1 lineup is about consistency, so I am running 4 of Mighty Bolt Dragoon. Luckily, this guy did get reprinted, so copies are pretty cheap. I think everything in this deck is really cheap now, aside from the original Dragonic Vanquisher, so unfortunately, if you don't have that, the deck is just not super effective, but it is what it is. On Rearguard Circle, this guy, the extra 5k is activated by just any player's card being bound during this turn, so very easy to get if you put this behind your Vanguard. This guy also, it essentially makes your Vanguard column, what is that, a 35k column overall, so very nice 2 boost. I always like to put it kind of behind there, behind my Vanguard. And obviously this is the grade 1 searcher, search a top 5, add a grade 3 to your hand, and then ditch a card from your hand if you add it. So good for searching out some of the Mighty Bolt Dragoons that we may need, or any of the other grade 3s as well. Moving on then to the trigger lineup. So I'm running something pretty decently standard, I think, for the triggers in terms of Narukami in general, and especially Vanquisher. I am running 6 crit, 6 draw, and 4 heal. I think that we do need a pressure with our crit. I think we do need a pressure with our hand size in general, just to have that kind of last us throughout the game. We discard, bind a lot of things from our hand, so the additional triggers really do help, the draw triggers. On top of that too, I feel like Sentinel triggers in general, which is really important right now, or the Perfect Guard triggers. Big attacks are kind of very prevalent all over. If you don't have a Perfect Guard, it's not the greatest thing in the world. Like the 30k shields, I find in some decks work. In this one, I'm really just looking to draw. I'm really looking to calculate and block certain attacks, like with 100% certainty. So to do that, I think this is the right ratio. You can up more draw if you want. You can up more crit. I don't think either way is really incorrect. I think this is pretty just standard neutral right in the middle. And this deck definitely likes to draw. So yeah, also one of the starters, I like to call him Scooby-Doo. All right. So yeah, let's get into a test hand for this deck now to show you guys some of the combos and how the deck kind of plays out. It's kind of difficult to play alone in Narukami, I find, in general. Just do these little test hands, but let's try our best and see what the deck can do. Alright, let's shuffle this deck up and get started. Super fun deck, honestly. I really like the kind of question mark that your opponent is always posing. Just like, how many attacks do they have? You know, how do I prepare to survive this turn? Vanquisher is really good in concealing a lot of that and just drawing blindly. So your opponent not always going to be keen to how many attacks you have this turn, which is a huge, huge advantage. And again, the double Vanguard swing is always a little bit threatening, so I feel like it definitely kind of put this deck back on the map. I know it hasn't had the most results. I think we're definitely in the golden age, so to speak, with Gurgit, but I think this deck definitely is a lot of fun, and you can definitely see good results with it. So let's go into a test hand now. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's see what we got. Whoops. Alright, so we do get a grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. Not bad overall. I'm going to put back these two. We don't need triggers in our hand, but we do get our grade 3 Searcher, our Shatora, and an OG Vanquisher. Alright, let's go 1 and 2. Alright, not too bad overall. I'm digging this. Let's go. Shuffle up again. And again, too, let me know what you guys disagree with in the list. I'm definitely always open to suggestions, any variations, and things that work for you guys. Definitely let me know. Alright, let's stand and draw for our turn. And as all of our kind of test hand things that we do, I'm going to just assume that we go first. So I'm going to, just drew for turn, I'm going to ride, draw off that ride. And then I'm going to search the top 7 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's see what Vanquisher we get, if any. Alright, cool, so we got another Fullbronto. There we go. I don't think I'm going to pop down the Mighty Bolt Dragoon just yet. I don't really have too much in my hand that I want to discard at this moment. Let me just double check that. Shuffle that up. Alright, let's see. Yeah, I kind of like everything in my hand right now, and I have enough grade 3s. Would like to see a Jaggy shot, so let's see in grade 2. We're going to pass it over to our opponent. Boom, take a damage. Alright, a draw trigger. There we go. Alright, over to us. Stand and draw. So we don't have a Jaggy shot yet. What am I going to ride first? Let's see. So this guy binds, this guy binds. We definitely need binds from our hand, but kind of want to get off 2. I need 2 binds. Let's see, let's actually ride the Shatora. It's kind of a weird choice, but if we don't have 2 binds later on, I'm just kind of assuming, like, I know I can bind him and get a multi-attack off there. If I can't bind him and I can't bind one of the Fullbrontos, my turn just won't be as effective. So always on your first grade 3 ride, you're looking to get those 2 binds. It's definitely essential in your grade 2 lineup. Beyond that, you really just need 1 extender there because Dragonic Vanquisher himself binds from your hand, so not too bad. I'm gonna kind of play this Mighty Bolt, I think. Yeah, let's see. Let's see if we can search the top 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do we get a Jaggy shot? We don't. So I need the Vanquisher. Yeah, might as well add deck in a little bit. Let me see what I want to drop. I might honestly drop it itself because I don't need it. And again, Fullbronto re-rides for regular Dragonic Vanquisher afterwards from Soul. You don't get an Excel marker, but no big deal. Let's see, what do I want to drop? Yeah, I'm gonna drop him. Alright, and we're going to now swing. This is 8-8, this is 16. Oh, do we have another draw trigger? Awesome, so we got a couple PGs in hand, nice. Draw off of that and over to our opponent. Assume we take 2 damage for their turn 1. Oh man, it's a Jaggy shot. 2, power, and let's heal that out. Doesn't really matter what we heal here. Alright, let's stand and draw. Oops. Oh wow, we did get him, awesome. Let's ride the OG Vanquisher. That's kind of always what we want to get into first. Let's get an Excel 2. I have a link in the description if you guys want to make these little custom Narukami or any kind of color themed custom astral markers. So yeah, look for that in the description if you're interested. And what are we going to do next? Let's see. Let's call down... Let's get our Jaggy shot there. Let's get our... We have 2 binders here. Let's call down our Rock Climb over here. Let's call down our Volt Shred. Yeah, and let's enter battle then. Alright, so we're going to first off we're going to counterblast one. Actually, let's just assume we bind a rear guard, so that's one bind on their side. Yeah, we're going to swing with Vanquisher first, sorry. We are going to swing with Vanquisher. This is going to be just 12. That's alright. We're not going to activate the 3 as of yet, but that's okay. 1 and 2. Alright, no triggers there. Now we swing with Jaggy Shot. We're going to use Jaggy Shot skill. We are going to bind a card from hand. We're going to bind the Fullbronto. We're going to use Fullbronto skill when bound from hand. We're going to re-ride him. Going to discard a card from hand, sorry. What do we want to discard? Let's discard the Mighty Bolt, I think. Yeah, let's do that. And then we are going to ride him, get the Excel 2, and draw off that. Let's use this one. Draw off that. And then there are no rear guards in our opponent's front row, so this guy now gets the 10k because Fullbronto was placed, so this is now 22. No rear guards in the front row, we draw off of Jaggy Shot, and then our Vanguard is Dragonic Vanquisher, so we get to put him into Soul and also draw a card, so a lot of draw power there, which is really, really nice. And we do have, I think, 2 bind targets, so both these guys will go live there as well, which is really, really nice. So let us go. Let's go here. We are going to skill. Yeah, we're going to swing this guy's 19k. He is going to skill. So last one, draw a card. Bind a card from our hand. Let's bind out the Chitara. Chitara is now 18. It comes out 18 plus the 5k, so this is now 23. Not too bad overall. And again, it didn't see the 10k that the Fullbronto popped down when it came to field, so let's see, what do we want to do next? Alright, let us swing with Rock Climb, use Rock Climb skill. We are going to retire this unit, draw a card, bind a card from hand. Let's bind, let's see, yeah, let's bind him, I guess. Bind from hand, it comes out. Alright, and then we're just going to swing with him. This is a 35k column. 1. Alright, let's place that on. Let's do this. All effects here, actually, probably. Or power here, crit there, whatever you want to do. Swing, swing. Let's assume this guy at least hit. Go to Soul Blast 1 then, and draw a card. And yeah, now we're going to re-ride Vanquisher from our Soul as rest. No additional Excel marker, so that's really the gist of the deck. There are tons of different kind of like lines of play you can do. I could have swung with my Vanguard earlier if I want, but it ended up that I had a lot of different things to bind in my hand, so I just wanted to get them in field in order to possibly hit a trigger and then put a sign of power to it. Again, this is kind of a difficult deck to just do test hands with. You really need like an opponent, I feel like, to showcase this deck, so I'll try to post some more playtesting videos of this deck. I know we have one on the channel already. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching so far. And again, if you haven't already, please consider hitting that subscribe button. We definitely appreciate it. I think we're at like 130 subs now, so really, really crazy. Thank you guys so, so much. Again, this is Alex from Team Generations, signing out.